I woke on a cold tile floor, the chill biting into my skin like ice. My fingertips were numb. The sterile sting of antiseptic filled my nostrils, sharp and unnatural. Overhead, fluorescent lights buzzed, flickering in slow, nauseating pulses. The corridor stretched in both directions, long, endless, and cruelly uniform. Cream-colored doors lined the walls, each identical, each sealed. I didn't know how I'd gotten here. Pushing myself up, I stood unsteadily, my legs stiff as if I hadn't used them in days. A faint echo followed every movement I made. Not the sound of my own footsteps, something else. A whisper of movement, like someone dragging their feet just beyond sight. Then I saw it. Far down the hallway, something shifted. A figure, limping. It emerged from the edge of the dim light, then vanished again, swallowed by the dark. I blinked hard. Had I imagined it? My heart began to pound in my ears. I reached into my pocket, praying for a lifeline. My phone was there, but no signal. The screen was cracked. The battery icon flashed red, but never drained. It just stayed that way, frozen. A clock hung on the wall near the ceiling. No hands, just a blank, useless face. Time didn't exist here. I tried the nearest door. The knob turned easily, but the moment I pushed, it opened into complete blackness. Not shadow, not dim light. Pitch. Nothing. I took a step back. I tried another door, then another. All the same. Silent mouths opening into void. Then I heard it. Whispers. Not in words, but in pain. Choked sobs. Rasps. Guttural groans. Some far away, others chillingly close. It felt like the walls were breathing, like the entire building had lungs of its own. I turned in circles, trying to find something. Anything that made sense. The exit signs were blank. The vents on the ceiling groaned low, releasing sudden bursts of cold air that made my skin crawl. And every few seconds, I swore I heard my name, distorted and thin. Ria, who's there? I asked, my voice bouncing back to me, fractured. No answer. A metal gurney stood abandoned at the far end of the hall, rusted and tilted. Dried stains marked its frame. As I approached it, the lights above me began to flicker more violently, casting the hallway in broken snapshots. Flash, stillness, flash, movement, flash, nothing. And then during one flicker I saw him again, the limping figure. Closer this time. He wore a hospital gown, the fabric clinging to his skeletal frame, yellowed with age and soot. One arm hung unnaturally at his side, his face. I couldn't make it out. Every time I tried to look, something in my mind twisted, recoiling from the image. Then he was gone. Vanished between flashes. I spun around. The hallway had changed. It wasn't the same direction I had come from. The doors were different. The gurney was gone. Something was very, very wrong with this place. I picked a door at random and kicked it open. Inside, nothing. Black. But I stepped in anyway. And the door slammed shut behind me. The door behind me slammed shut, sealing me in darkness. But then, I heard it. A heartbeat. Not mine. It was slower, deeper, unnatural. It pulsed from somewhere beyond the black, echoing like a drum against the hollow bones of the building. Thud, thud, thud. Each beat vibrated through the floor, crawling up my spine. I stumbled forward, hands outstretched, until my fingers brushed against chipped paint and warped wood. A door. A different one. This one was old, older than the corridor I came from. Its surface cracked like dry skin, the number worn off completely. And still, the heartbeat called from behind it. I pushed. The hinges groaned as the door creaked open, revealing a room suffocated in dust and decay. It was a nursery, at least it used to be. Rows of cribs sat in disarray, some overturned, others with shredded linens hanging off like limp ghosts. The wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips, revealing rusted metal beneath. The heartbeat was louder here, not in the walls anymore. It was in the air itself. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Mildew, rot, and something sweet gone sour. A mobile spun lazily above one crib, its pieces long gone except a single rusted bell that chimed softly without wind. My shoes crunched over broken glass and toy pieces. And then I saw it. One crib wasn't empty. Nestled in faded pink blankets was a doll. At least I thought it was just a doll, until I saw the small, pale hand curled around it. Not plastic, not stitched, real. A child's severed hand, shriveled and dry, clutching the toy like it never let go. My breath caught in my throat. The heartbeat had stopped. Silence pressed against me like a weight. Then the doll moved. Its eyes, glossy and unblinking, shifted slowly to meet mine. I froze. My own reflection shimmered in those tiny black pupils. And then, footsteps. They echoed down the hall behind me. Not hurried, measured, limping. Panic flared in my chest. I turned and ran, slamming through the nursery door, nearly tripping as I spilled back into the corridor. My breath fogged the air. The lights above buzzed back to life one by one, revealing the long stretch of hallway I thought I'd left. And there he was again, the figure, closer this time. He stood at the far end of the hall, one arm twitching at his side. He wore a hospital gown, thin, almost transparent under the light. His skin was pale, marbled with blue veins. His head hung low, chin against his chest, face obscured by matted hair. I didn't move. Neither did he. But something in me knew. We were connected. Somehow. A sharp buzz cracked through the hallway, and the lights blinked once, twice, and then the man was gone. No sound, no footsteps, just vanished. I backed away slowly, heart slamming in my ribs, until I hit another door. The metal was cold against my back. The heartbeat had started again, but now, it was inside me. He was standing at the end of the corridor again. This time, I didn't run. There was something different in the way he swayed. Less ghost, more person. His head was tilted slightly, his mouth twitching as if struggling to form words. His pale hand reached out in my direction, trembling. Then he spoke. "Help me." 2 words, cracked and dry, but real. I stepped forward, my shoes echoing on the tiles. The lights buzzed louder, pulsing with each step. My throat felt dry. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came. He turned and began walking, limping deeper into the corridor that stretched impossibly far. I followed. With each step, the hallway changed. Walls narrowed, doors curved, angles twisted. I could no longer tell if we were going in circles or spiraling deeper underground. Pipes groaned overhead like something alive was crawling through them. He didn't look back, just moved ahead, one foot dragging behind him. Then he stopped. He turned to me, his hollow eyes searching mine, and whispered something, barely audible. L-A-3-B. I repeated it under my breath, like a code. L-E-3-B. He nodded slowly. Then, without warning, he dissolved into the shadows. No sound. Just gone. I stood alone in the warped hallway. The fluorescent light above me flickered violently, and then something even more disturbing happened. The doors began to change. I opened one at random, hoping to backtrack or escape, but instead of blackness, I found an overturned hospital bed, stained with rust and something darker. Blood. I stepped inside. The room smelled like antiseptic and rot. A patient gown lay in a heap, shredded down the back. The walls were scratched with symbols I didn't recognize. Scribbled notes were stuck to the corners, curling from age, their writing faded and frantic. They never let us out. I can still hear the cries. She never left. The last one stopped me cold. I backed out, slamming the door shut behind me, only to find the hallway had shifted again. There were more doors now, closer together. Some were cracked open. A low hum came from one of them, almost like breathing. I didn't dare check. The temperature dropped as I walked. My own reflection stared back at me from a glass wall ahead, but it didn't move in sync. I blinked. She didn't. I raised my hand. She didn't follow. I turned away. That's when I started hearing it, my name, whispered from the vents above, faint, female, and unmistakable. Aria! I stared at the ceiling. The vents rattled slightly. I took a step back. Another voice whispered from a door behind me. A male voice, hoarse and broken. Come back! I turned the handle. Empty room. Nothing but a broken IV stand and a pile of worn-out restraints. I didn't know how long I'd been here. I checked my phone again. Still no signal. But now, a strange folder had appeared in the gallery. I hadn't noticed it before. It was labeled Patient Files. Inside were pictures of me. Same face, same eyes. But different times, different clothes, different years. I felt the hallway tilt beneath me. My knees buckled. I leaned against the wall as the vents above released a sigh of cold air. From somewhere deep inside this nightmare, I heard the heartbeat again. And I realized I wasn't alone anymore. Not really. The walls changed again. I didn't notice it at first. Just a subtle curve in the hallway, the way the air seemed thicker. Then I turned a corner and froze. Mirrors. The corridor was lined with them, tall and narrow, bolted into the walls. Dozens of them. Each one reflecting me back. But not quite. My reflection in the first mirror blinked a moment too late. The next showed me in the same clothes, but my eyes were darker, almost hollow. In another, I was standing perfectly still while I tilted my head. I stopped walking. This wasn't a trick of the light. The reflections were wrong. They weren't me. Not anymore. I backed away and turned down a side hall to escape the mirrors, but it only led to more of them. Some cracked, some smudged with what looked like handprints. I caught glimpses of myself in a hospital gown in one pane, hair damp and messy, arms bruised. In another, I looked sedated, eyes glazed, lips whispering something I couldn't hear. I wanted to look away, but one mirror pulled me in. My reflection stared, eyes wide, and slowly, it smiled. I wasn't smiling. I stumbled back, heart thundering, and pushed open the closest door to get away from it all. The room inside was pitch black at first, then a dim screen flickered on across the far wall. Static buzzed, and then an image appeared, a grainy, looping video. I saw the hospital entrance, the front lobby, empty. Then the glass doors opened and I walked in, alone, wearing the same clothes I had on now. I moved to the front desk, stood for a while, then walked deeper into the building. But I had no memory of this. None. I stared at the screen as the footage looped again and again. Each time I entered, something behind me flickered into view. A figure in white, watching, then gone. Suddenly the monitor glitched and the screen went black. That's when I heard it. Crying. Muffled. Broken. Coming from just beyond the wall. I ran back into the hallway, following the sound. It grew louder with every step, deeper and more painful, echoing through the vents. I turned another corner and found myself standing in front of a sealed metal door. Quarantine, it read in large, faded red letters. I pressed my ear against it. A child sobbed on the other side. No words, just raw, aching grief. I knocked, unsure why. No response. I gripped the handle, locked tight. I stepped back, disturbed, and turned away. Behind me, the door creaked. It opened slowly, hissing as it swung inward. No one was there. Only darkness. But the crying had stopped. I stood frozen, staring into that silence, unsure if I should go in or run. My breath fogged the air. The hallway behind me had changed again. No mirrors now, just bare, blank walls. I took one step forward into the quarantine room, then another, and as the door closed behind me, I realized the air smelled like smoke. Old, burned smoke clinging to memories long buried. The quarantine room was empty. No child, no cries, just scorched walls and the heavy scent of old ash. Everything was covered in a fine layer of soot. Even the air felt heavy, like it remembered fire. I moved slowly through the charred silence, my footsteps echoing like an intruder's. The room had no windows, just a single door on the far side, half covered by a rusted crash cart. I pushed it aside with effort, the wheels shrieking in protest. The door behind it read, LE3B. My chest tightened. That was the name the man whispered. The handle was ice cold. As I turned it, I hesitated. Not because I feared what was inside, but because some part of me already knew. The room beyond looked wrong. Not like the others. It was untouched by time or fire. The floor was polished, clean. The walls were a dull green, and the lights didn't flicker. Everything here felt preserved, like a memory refusing to decay. A nurse's station sat just inside, dustless. I stepped closer and saw the uniform draped neatly over the chair, folded, fresh. I leaned in. Pinned to the breast pocket was an ID badge. My breath caught. It was me. The photo showed my face, slightly younger, maybe early 20s, hair pulled back, wearing a faint smile. But the name read, Aria Wells, registered nurse. The birth date underneath was off by several years. Earlier. Too early. I picked it up with shaking fingers. Then I saw the clipboard. My name again. Only this time, under patient notes. A full record of vitals, medications, incidents, scribbled evaluations. Words like dissociative episodes and identity confusion stood out in bold red pen. None of it made sense. I stumbled deeper into the wing, the lights dimmed with each step. Hallways branched off in all directions, but I somehow knew which path to take. The same pull as before. Familiar. At the end of the corridor, he waited for me. The man in the patient gown. But now I wasn't afraid. He turned slowly, and for the first time, I saw his face clearly. It was mine. Not exactly. A little older, eyes sunken, skin pale, but undeniably me. He reached out and touched my shoulder, cold fingertips, but steady. You stayed, he whispered. The words echoed through me like a punch to the chest. Flashes hit me, visions like lightning behind my eyes. I saw myself in this hallway, years ago, running, flames, screams, the crackle of fire devouring walls. I saw doors slamming shut behind nurses, patients scrambling. Then, nothing. Darkness. Then I was standing again, in front of a wall, and carved deep into the plaster were the words, Aria Wells, 2004 to 2023. My knees buckled. The date. This year. The fire was nearly 2 decades ago, and I was still here. I backed away from the wall, clutching the badge, my mind unraveling. The hallway lights dimmed to red. Behind me, the man, no eye, was gone again. Only the whisper remained. You stayed. Something broke inside me when I saw that wall, the one with my name etched into it like a gravestone. 2004 to 2023. 19 years. That's how long I'd been walking these halls? I didn't remember dying. I didn't remember being here at all. But the more I wandered, the more the pieces began to surface, like bruises rising beneath skin. I stood in a stairwell now, the air heavy and unmoving. The light above buzzed, dim and red, casting warped shadows down the steps. The walls were littered with papers, patient charts, torn pages, ink bled out from water damage. I knelt down and picked one up. Patient. Aria Wells. Status. Admitted. Observation level. Maximum. Diagnosis. Severe dissociative identity disorder. Trauma-induced psychosis. Recommendation. Continue observation. Termination of program delayed. My hands trembled as I read. I didn't remember any of this. Was I a patient? A nurse? Both? I opened my phone again, desperate for a tether to reality. It was still dead. No bars, no service. But something had changed. A new folder had appeared in the gallery. Records. I tapped it. Dozens of images opened. Photos of me. Some showed me in hospital gowns. Others in patient robes, much younger. A few where I looked drugged, eyes distant, mouth slightly parted. Some were taken in places I hadn't seen yet, or maybe I had and didn't remember. Each image had a date at the bottom, spanning years. Then came the discharge forms, signed copies with my name in unfamiliar handwriting. Then came the Polaroids. I found the room moments later, door slightly ajar. The inside was suffocating. Photos everywhere, hundreds of them, pinned to the walls, scattered across the floor. Each one a moment captured in this hospital. All of me, all different. A lifetime of admissions. Some Polaroids showed me smiling, others weeping. In one, I was holding the doll from the nursery. The same doll with the glassy black eyes and chipped porcelain cheek. The same doll I swore I'd never seen before 2 days ago. But in this photo, I was holding it like it belonged to me. Like I'd known it forever. I stared too long. My vision swam. A loud crack jolted me from the daze. Behind me, the hallway lights shut off one by one. Click. 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 I stepped outside, heart racing. And then I screamed. Because someone else screamed at the exact same time. My voice, but not from my mouth. It came from down the hallway. Help me! My voice, exact, broken, echoing. Who's there? I yelled, tears burning behind my eyes. Who are you? Then the answer came. Same tone, same voice. You. Silence. I backed away, gasping, until my heel hit something soft. A patient robe, folded neatly, on a metal chair, next to a nameplate that read, A. Wells, long-term observation. I turned. A mirror stood on the wall, not warped, not cracked, just clear. In it, I wore the robe. Blood smeared the sleeves. I blinked. She didn't. My phone vibrated in my hand. That shouldn't have been possible. It had been dead for hours, maybe days, but now it buzzed violently, once, then went still. The screen lit up with a soft glow. A single notification. One new message. From unknown message. Together. I stared at the screen. No signal. No battery icon. No time. Just that word pulsing on the screen like a heartbeat. Together. The hallway lights exploded with a crackle. Darkness swallowed me for a heartbeat. Then everything ignited in red. Emergency glow bathed the corridor in a fever dream. Alarms screamed in silence, flashing without sound. Shadows danced on the walls, stretching and twisting like they were alive. I ran. I didn't know where I was going anymore. Every turn led to the same looping hallways. Each time I pushed open a door, I emerged back into the same corridor. Same smeared handprint on the glass. Same gurney toppled against the wall. Same whisper behind me. Lee 3B. It always led me back. My breath came in ragged bursts. The air thickened with smoke again, like memory rebuilding itself around me. I saw brief flashes, shadows of nurses running, lights strobing, fire crawling across the ceiling. I could almost hear the screams I forgot I once made. Finally, I reached it. The end of the corridor. The door was ajar now. Room LE 3B. The red lights pulsed slower, like a dying heartbeat. He stood inside, waiting. Not the man in the gown. Me. Or something like me. The version that had walked this place longer than any patient, any nurse. Hair tangled, hospital tag still dangling from the wrist. Eyes hollow, skin pale, but undeniably mine. He stepped forward and held out a hand. "I've waited long enough," he whispered. "You were always here." I felt the memories unravel, not in pieces anymore, but all at once. The restraints, the screaming, the sedatives, the hallucinations that weren't hallucinations. I had been admitted in 2004 after a fire I barely survived. Or maybe I hadn't survived at all. They said I had wandered back into the ruins weeks after the fire, that I refused to leave, that I claimed I worked there, lived there. They said I made up the patients, that I spoke to mirrors and stared at empty cribs for hours. But the longer I stayed, the less they believed I existed at all. And then they left. The hospital closed, but I remained. I stepped closer. "You never left," he said. "You just forgot." I wanted to run, but my legs refused. Something inside me stirred instead. Something that had waited for 19 years in silence. I took his hand, and everything shifted. The room lit up. Not with firelight, but with clarity. I saw every version of myself standing around the room. Younger, older, afraid, medicated, silent. We watched each other. No one spoke. No one needed to. We were the same. All the fragments finally whole. The walls around us groaned as if exhaling. The red lights dimmed. And in that stillness, the hallway behind me began to vanish. Not collapse, just fade. The corridors, the mirrors, the vents, the nursery, the whispers, evaporating like breath on glass. I was still here. But for the first time, I wasn't alone. I looked at him, at me, and whispered, "Let's go." And we walked through the door, together.